like the most craziest crap happening, like Shaq coming out like beating someone up and getting like run over by Batman's car, and like Abraham Lincoln coming out and like hitting him with an AK-47. Dude, I don't know how that's actually in it, and I memorized it.
Hey, wait, that's a triple play. New episodes, I couldn't wait. Yeah, open your mind at the first gate. Press play, no need to debate. Hey, wait, check me out. Look, blocked in, you can catch the hype. Golden Dawn, how we follow the light. Anime like life, married to it, my wife.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages? Welcome back to the AOA show. I'm your host, as always, Ian, along with the boys Isaiah.
Oh, hi, yo.
And Gavin.
What is Gucci flip flop?
Today, we're talking Tower of God. We're hitting episodes 318 to 326. Y'all ask questions in our Discord, and we are here to answer them. We took the top 7 most upvoted questions in the TOG questions section of our Discord, and we're going to answer them today. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. And if you guys don't know what the hell I'm talking about right now, you're a newcomer to the channel. Every time we have a live stream, which you can catch on the AOA Reacts channel, the link is in the description down below, on Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. 1 hour after that stream is concluded, you have your chance to ask any question pertaining to those chapters and pertaining to Tower of God, obviously, in that channel. And if it gets upvoted, we might just answer it on our discussion video here. So that's what we're going to do today. If you guys like the content today, make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, hitting that notification bell, sharing with your friends, commenting your thoughts down below. What did you think of these questions, our answers to them, our generalized discussion here? These chapters for Tower of God, these were a lot of fun ones to read. They were jam-packed. We had some laughs. Definitely go check out that live stream as well and sub to the AOA Reacts channel.
Indeed.
But anyway, without further ado, also, full disclaimer, we are straight up shot right now. So we might just diverge into just like I am right now. We might just diverge into just like some craziness at some point. It's been like this basically all day. We're sleep deprived. We've been doing a lot of work.
100%. If you pee in a pot, is it yellow?
Exactly. And pee comes from the nuts. That's why it's called peanuts. All right, so we're going to get to the first question here. Gavin, take it away.
Now. John at Dawn. Thank you. So our first question is, so we have now reached the point where Hansung is unquestionably an ally to the heroes. Unquestionably. Big words, my friend. Do you feel like his character arc, starting from the hidden floor and leading here, was handled well? Do you think Hansung knew who Bam was from the get-go and still treated him poorly anyway? Was he so harsh because he thought it was necessary to teach Bam, or is he just kind of a sadistic bastard? Well, he's adorable enough to be a sadistic bastard and me to be okay with it, so I'm going to get that out of the way first. But I've been, honestly, this is going to be so biased because I've always been a Hansung fan, a stan. I don't know why. He's just amazing, and who doesn't love a guy who could just drink a gallon of coffee every second? So, I mean, it's just
That's
amazing.
at the top of my list. And I'm sure every female or whoever on Tinder. Yeah.
Has to be able to lift my weight and drink it in coffee.
Yeah.
That's it.
Or don't even talk. You know, keep swiping. Yeah.
So I personally think that his character arc has been pretty good since the Hidden Floor arc and leading into now. I thoroughly enjoyed it on the Hidden Floor. I liked almost that weird, like, you didn't know if he was a good guy, bad guy. I mean, I would still say that we don't know for sure. I mean, it's more based off of the past. Obviously, he is with Fug, so he is going to do some sort of Fug bidding, which we have seen before, and why he's coming out to help Bam now. So he does want Bam to, reach Fug's objective. So, he is going to help him, obviously, because of that relationship. However, either way, I still really like the Hidden Floor arc, especially him specifically being a fan of him. I like seeing him more and like actually doing something that's not just, sitting off in the corner, like just crying himself to sleep. Do I think that he knew from the get-go who Bam was? I do, like many people who I think just knew of Bam's existence coming into the tower and kind of, funneled him into where he needed to go. I mean, maybe not like, do you think Hansung knew who Bam was from the get-go? So, I mean, maybe not when he first saw Bam and was like, I know who you are, I've been expecting you. But then again, like, seeming from the Hidden Floor arc, when Bam came in, he's like, I've been waiting for you. Like, I feel like for a long time, even though it might not have been Bam initially, I feel like he was waiting for someone but didn't know who it was. And then, in learning Bam was a regular and like his potential, I feel like that maybe was like the little like light that flashed in his mind where it's like this could probably be who we needed, and then in seeing him grow, he was like, this is, you know, the person we've been waiting for, and then obviously led to that very dark path that put Bam in a bad place. So you know, whether from the get-go or not, he definitely knew, and at least was waiting for someone to show the signs of who he was looking for to enter the tower, which was Bam. And yeah, I think that's most of it. And why did he still treat him poorly? I mean, honestly, it's just Bam's personality. I mean, it was kind of like why they put him in that spot to begin with. He was just always so nice and such a good person, and he wasn't someone who would necessarily bend to the whim of Fug if it was just offered because of almost like his like blind kindness. So they tried to like put him down into a dark place to like rebuild him in a sense, and it's just Bam is that pro-tycoon, so it's just not going to work in general. So yeah, it's a bit of both, but yeah, that is my breakdown on Hansung.
All right, so we'll take a stab at this. Do you feel like his character arc starting from the hidden floor and leading here was handled well? I'm actually still in the dark. I'm going to be honest with you, maybe a little bit more of a harsh critic on this one, and I'm curious to see where this character goes from here. Because I was thinking, I wondered if the hidden floor was actually, weirdly enough, the beginning and the end of Han Sung-Yu's arc, where it was like Han Sung-Yu takes a prominent part in the beginning of the story in order to get Bam, you know, to fall for his plan and for everything to go off without a hitch and do that. But then I, you know, can't help but think there's a knowing that Bam, that version of Bam is going to meet his younger self at some point, and what he has to do is pave the way for him in some way, shape, or form to dismantle the hidden floor and get all this thing going. And it's almost like that's where his arc ends. It's almost like some weird Doctor Who thing, if anyone's familiar with that show, where it's like a lot of times the last version of yourself is seeing the first version of someone else, but it's like that's where they started. Some weird, crazy crap. The reason I say that is because it seems like Han Sung-Yu now, I guess I would like some more answers as to why he came to the initial floor and what his plan was besides getting Bam to be a slayer, if there was one. Because once Jihad issues the order, they find him and go to kill him immediately. So I was like, oh, wait a minute. So I guess like Jihad, once he decided to give a shit, like, or anyone who knew who Fug was, like, kind of knew that he was a prominent figure in Fug, right? Like, that would have to be my assumption going into it. So it doesn't seem like there was, I always thought that there was like this, I'm going to play like on the down low, people might not know, I'm going to take over this floor, I'm going to like enact these things, but it seems like it was pretty common knowledge, at least some of the higher ups. So I wonder then what his reasoning was besides, you know, finding, you know, waiting for Bam to come in that scenario. I wonder if he has more purpose beyond that, because now it seems like he's just like, okay, they came to kill me, so now I'm going to like fight them head on. And it's like this whole like shroud of mystery is still there with Han Sung in general, because it's like, how does he know all the things he knows, etc. But like the fact that it's like, okay, I'm pretty damn out in the open with the fact that like I oppose that now because you guys came to kill me. I don't know, Gavin, you're racking.
I don't know if I misunderstood you, but Jihad, like they sent him after, or Jihad sent his people at Han Sung-Yu because Han Sung-Yu allowed someone like Bam to leave that first initial floor. So that is why that Han Sung-Yu knew that Bam was an irregular and allowed him to pass through. Although it was more of a back door, because actually Bam didn't pass the normal rate. He actually, remember, he got pushed off, and then he went through like a weird backdoor system through Fug. So that's why, is now that they know of Bam's existence and how strong he went through, everybody has to get funneled through Han Sung's floor. And the fact that he let this happen is why Jihad is like,
okay, I
am sending my men after you.
Gotcha. I'm going to highlight, backspace, and I'm going to restart this memo. So pretend I never said that, because that's my bad. Okay, that actually changes things slightly, but not fully. So it changes it in the sense that it's like, okay, they didn't know that he was part of Fug necessarily. He just like really messed up there in the eyes of Jihad. I guess my question now is what his purpose is going forward. If he had a plan beyond that, it doesn't seem like he did, because he was pretty willing to accept death. So I wonder if the plan the whole time was like, my job is to get Bam to whatever next stage he needs to. And then I know, or maybe it was coincidental that he had met him in the hidden floor, but like I have a feeling he's like, I know this version of Bam or Viol is going to meet me later on in the hidden floor, and I will talk to him there. I know that something's coming, etc. And like that's the end of my story. Like that's where it lives and ends. Because now going forward with his character, once this is all kind of like cat's out of the bag, I see him as more of like oh, okay, I'm here and I'm helping you guys fight type thing. But one of the things that really was appealing to me about Hansung Yu was the absolute mystery that not only surrounded him as a person, because I believe he still has that for sure, and I'm curious to find that out, but also with what his plan was beyond that. And that's what I'm saying. The fact that he was willing to be like, okay, this is the end of the road. I can't help but wonder if like, okay, I guess that was the plan. You know what I mean? To like go there, take over the floor, and then just like make sure Bomb got out of there, and like then his plan's done. So I don't know. I'm curious to see in the future how he gets incorporated into the story without making it seem like he got hand-fisted in just because people like him. I don't know where we go from here. So I think the arc is done well. I'm just concerned about where his arc goes from here, because it seems like he was just kind of saved from death in that moment. But I don't know what else he's working towards, you know? So curious about that. Do you think Hansung knew who Bomb was from the get-go? Yes. And still treated him poorly anyway? Yes. I think it might have been some weird thing like Itachi thing where it's like your hate, you know what I mean? Like you have to get strong through X thing. And it's like, bottom line, it's like, I know who you're going to be, but it's, you know, like you have a job to do, and it's to come up here and smite jihad. And like, I'm kind of not letting that go to the wayside. Was he so harsh because he thought it was necessary to teach Bomb, or he just kind of, or is he just sadistic? I actually think it's a little bit of a mixture of both, but I do think that I would like to believe that it was more in line with the former. He thought it was necessary, because when we have, what leads me to believe that is because when Jinsung Ha comes to him and he's like, this kid's untrainable, like blah, blah, blah. Hansung Yu seems to talk in a sense that's maybe not highly of him, but it seems like he has some sort of belief in Bomb. He backs him up in that moment. And somebody that would just sadistically just want to like beat the hell out of him for whatever reason, I don't think he would have like went to bat for Bomb like that when somebody had doubts about him, when he was basically just like, give it a minute, like this kid's a prodigy. Like, you know, I do think it was more of the former, where he's like, it's a necessary thing because Bomb is just so nice, it's almost to a fault. And he's like, okay, we need a guy that's going to be kind of stone cold killer, and like, you're really not fitting into that mold, so I think I might have to force you into that mold. But those are my thoughts on the matter.
I do like Hansung Yu's character arc. I don't think it's done yet, because I don't know. There's this very like obvious connection between Hansung Yu and Jinsung, with this idea that people in Fug, one of their main driving motivations is the hatred that they have for jihad and the system and like the empire. And Hansung Yu specifically even goes so far as to say that like that's one of his greatest fears. It's not dying, but it's that those emotions subsiding eventually, or
sure,
you know, him not feeling as strongly as he does about jihad now, you know, later. So I think that while if you look at it chronologically, like Data Jihad or Data Hansung, like going through the Hidden Floor, we got to see sort of like where he was when he was young, and then, you know, through the course of the Hidden Floor, his character develops a little bit, and he gets a little bit more like wise and privy to like the bigger picture, right? That like this tower and subsequently the world here is not just about like him and him getting what he wants and him looking as good as possible. And so I think whatever happened, you know, like you said, sort of still the mystery that remains with this character, whatever happened between him completing the Hidden Floor and getting to where he is now, you know, that's a large gap of time to fill, and I'm assuming is what put him in sort of the mindset he was in when we met Hansung all the way back in season 1. But I wonder where his character is going to go now, because now from the moment that we met him in season 1 up until these couple of chapters, it does kind of seem like he had taken this role of like, all right, I'll do my part, but like I'll do my part as in greeting the regulars that enter the tower, right? And I'm going to sort of be like the guy that checks them and make sure that like they're all clear to go up. But wasn't taking a very active role in this fight with Fug. Again, like, you know, he was helping them like he was helping them from the sidelines or from the shadows, or however you want to phrase it. But I think these chapters lately, and maybe it's this like, you know, this conversation he had with Evankhell, or not meeting he had with it, because the flashback to that conversation happened much longer time ago. But like, I think this has sort of like kickstarted this thing in Hansung where he's like, okay, if I'm so afraid of this feeling dying or you know, sort of like diminishing, like I need to do something about it now. Like people could use my help now, and like, so that's what I'm going to do. So I think I think he's going to remain a much more relevant character in the story, but it's like by means because he's now decided to become a more like relevant character in terms of he's shifting from, which is ironic considering he was one of the people who trained Bam. He's now shifting from a much more reactive and like sideline shadow character to somebody who's going to be a little bit more, and I don't think he's going to be like, main character following Bam in the party around, but I do think he's going to be much more involved in like Fug's fight against Jihad and his empire. Do I think Hansung knew who Bam was? Yeah, I do, because my main thing was going to be the thing you pointed out, which was the conversation with Jinsung when he was like, "Yo, I think we should just drop this kid. He's not like cutting out," and Hansung was like, "Don't worry about it." I think again, if you go, but now that we have the context from the hidden floor, like Hansung definitely knew. And when I say he knew who Bam was, I don't even think he knew that like this kid Bam, who's got brown hair and yellow eyes, like he didn't know, but he knew that the kind of person Bam was going to come into the tower at some point, and that's why I think, again, helping folk from the shadows, he requested to be down on this floor of test. He's like, I'm gonna watch and check every regular that comes through here, so that when this person does come, I will be one of the first people that meets them.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so yeah, I do think he knew who he was, or who this kind of person was from the very get go. And yeah, I do think the main reason that he was so hard on Bam is like Ian said, a mixture of both. He's the journey and the mission that Bam's going to have to go on is not going to be easy, and he might ultimately end up having to either let people die or kill people himself, right? Yeah. And so Hansung is going to have to find, I think in his mind, he was like, I need him to know either A, how to do that, and B, be okay with that happening around him, because that's just going to be like, it's going to be a second nature thing. And yeah, he's a little bit of a sadist. I think he likes bullying people.
Yeah, he's a little crazy. Plus, it's like you were saying, him kind of running a vetting check for each person that comes in, and him not necessarily maybe knowing who Bomb, specifically brown hair, whatever, is. You tend to see a lot of times in these fights and in anime generally, it's like the more powerful people become in their ability or whatever, just in general, they always seem to have this innate ability to be able to sense somebody else's ability and power for no apparent reason. It's like they never explain, it's like, oh, we have this power. It just like kind of comes with the territory. It's like you're that strong, strength recognizes strength. Yeah. So, or if something's off. So I feel as if, that presence of Bomb when it came, it's like, that's who you are. It's like he just knew. It just clicked like a sixth sense. I don't know. But anyway, good question. We're going to hop into the second one here, and it is from The Only Way 029. Thank you for the question. The Only Way asks, Jinsung Ha seems to certainly know a ton of powerful people, Jihad and now Kallavan. Predictions on how they know each other and how this fight ends, who wins? Good question. I think actually to kind of piggyback what I was just talking about, and I've talked about this in previous discussions about Jihad and the 10 great families kind of ascending so far above the common folk, quote unquote, as it were, that it's, even if they weren't arrogant, it's kind of hard to be able to play on the same field as them anymore, just due to them destroying the field if they hit a baseball. Like, my point is that it's just like there's just so much of a gap of power and stuff that it's like they don't even understand like what we are. We're just above them on that level. But strength recognizes strength, and people that are on that level, being that there is such a small handful of them, I feel like all of those people are going to know each other, right? If you're like the top 25 of whatever you are in your craft, I would wager to say more times than not, you're probably going to know, if you are also one of those top 25, you're probably going to know majority of the people within that top 25. Even if you don't, talk with them actively or whatever, you're going to know their names for the most part. So I do think that because Jinsung Ha is so damn powerful and is so high up and is from a royal family and all that kind of jazz, that he is just, it's going to be, a matter of time. They're in such a small room, in such a small space that he bumps into these people, because he's just able to brush shoulders with them and not get killed. So it's just, he's able to do that. So I think that might be why he knows them. A crazy outlandish theory would be that Jinsung Ha is the family head. That'd be nuts. But he's like doing this like super crazy thing where it's like he just like abdicated the position, and like they're just kind of acting like there's a family head, like they instilled someone, you know what I mean? Like some crazy thing. That's totally pulled out of my ass. I have no proof to that whatsoever, but I think it'd be some crazy twist if it was. Doubt it though. But I think for my first reason, particularly, it's just a matter of time before he runs into these people and conversates with them, etc. Predictions on who wins this fight in the end? It's kind of hard to really gauge it now because we've literally just seen this guy's hairdo and his eyeballs so far in terms of Kallavan and him say Rhapsody on the piano, and that's it. You know what I mean? Like all,
not enough.
yeah, right. What am I talking about? He wins, duh. So really, all we've got was kind of the hype from the fans being like, "This guy is nuts," and I'm sure he is. If Jinsung Ha is like kind of taking this seriously, he's smoking a cigarette now, you know it's real, right?
Yeah,
So it's like. Obviously, he's going to be close. Do I know if he wins or not? I can't really judge statistics. I can't be like, well, we all know Kallavan has this crazy move versus this. Like, I don't know. I'm going to be honest, too. Jinsung Ha beats the living shit out of so many opponents that he faces effective immediately that I still haven't even gotten his full 4-1-1 on his freaking fighting style besides I blow you up. That's it. I just know that he's from the Ha family, so he's probably hella durable. That's it, though. I don't really know his fighting style, per se. Just that he can eat a nuke.
We've never
You know
seen
what
him
I'm
like
saying?
scrap.
Yeah, so it's like he's never gone toe-to-toe. So I don't even know the full extent of his power, let alone Kallavan's. I just know that we've been with Jinsung Ha. So obviously, Jinsung Ha, we're probably going to back him in the corner because he's a likable character. He's like Bomb's stepdad, basically. And like so you want him to do, like you want him to win in that regard. He's too cool for school. But I don't know if Kallavan pulls out some sort of stop or knows his style. From what we've heard, Kallavan is like super regimented, strict, like battle strategist, from what I've heard in some of the comments and stuff like that. So if anyone has a weakness pegged, it could be him and he could exploit it. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think I pretty much agree with you as far as like how they know each other. I think Jinsung just, he's so strong that he can kind of go wherever he wants, and there's not a whole lot of consequence if he bumps into someone like Kallavan. It's not like, I shouldn't be here. It's like, oh, hey, Kallavan, what's up? Like he could slap him, he gets slapped, and just do the thing. So yeah, I think he just recognizes game. He's been in leagues, he's been in the runs, and he's encountered this guy, either a couple times or one time or whatever. But I actually think that, like, just to get into that a little bit more, I think the reason that like they know each other and seem to have, like, I don't even know if I would say rivalry per se, but like they seem like, I think they've fought before, and I don't think it was like to the death, and I don't think it was anything serious, but I think that Jinsung, who is a well-established member of FUG and like clearly seems to have these ideas about opposing jihad and like going against this system in place. I think obviously because Kallavan, at least from my predictions, is probably the exact opposite. Like he's probably one of jihad's most diehard fans.
Okay.
Because I think this guy who is the military of this, or the leader of this military, I think he actually really respects and admires this like order and empire and militaristic system that jihad has in place. And he's like, no, jihad's strong, but like that's not why I love him. Like this is a man with a vision. This is a man who wants to establish order and law in this tower, and I couldn't agree more with that. So like sign me up. So I think it's their ideologies that cause them to fight.
Okay.
And like after this first fight, like maybe they came to a draw because they realized like if they had to keep going, they would kill it. One of them would die, and maybe whatever position they were in at that time, which maybe was like when Jinsung was more associated with the Ha family, they were like, oh, we can't do this. But then so maybe X years, what his years in the tower, Jinsung leaves, and I don't remember this correctly, but I think when we first met Jinsung, he was introduced to us as like this guy who just like went around killing people from the 10 families, right?
Or his own family.
Or his own
something
family.
like that. He slaughtered a bunch of his own family members.
So I guess this leads me into like, as far as who I think would win, I don't know, because I guess, like you said, and that's fair, I don't know literally anything about Kallavan in terms of what he's capable of, his techniques. So like, yeah, I guess I'm gonna root for Jinsung now because Jinsung's the only thing that I know. I only know Jinsung. But I don't know. Jinsung did say when he was fighting Masheni, he was like, oh shit. Like he kind of made the remark of like, if Kallavan's gonna be here, this is gonna be tough. So if Jinsung is saying that you're a tough opponent for him to fight, like, you can't be a pushover. So like, but like he didn't say like, fuck, I'm gonna have to avoid fighting him. He just said he's gonna be tough. So is that like he's gonna be tough, but I could beat him. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
What do you think?
All right, so I pretty much share Ian on the first one. I do also have an inkling that they also fought prior, and I actually think Kallavan won, in a weird way. Not in terms of obviously he's not dead, but yeah, I do think that in a weird way Kallavan maybe had the upper hand in that certain scenario, and Jinsung might be smelling out a little bit of a revenge fight, to kind of set him in place, and I wonder if the cigarettes in which he smokes actually maybe stems from that fight with Kallavan or coming out of it, because obviously like the line can be drawn that, oh, he's serious, he has a cigarette in, like that could be established. But I don't know, I like the idea that there might be other like weird, maybe more surface level reasons why he has it, even if it's like, oh, like maybe something happened from that fight and then he picked up smoking, or maybe it's like, you know, just in essence, Jinsung's like, yeah, like I'm cool because I smoke, and it's like I'm seeing someone who I know is super strong, like why would I go up to him like with a lollipop in my mouth? Like that's stupid, you know? Like just from just from like a personality perspective, where he's like, you know, I like if I'm gonna come at this person, like it's gonna be how he like formerly knows me, and like I want to feel like I want to stroll up there being as cool as I possibly can. Like I'm not gonna be having a lollipop.
He's gonna try and psych him out.
Well, no, and like as weird as that sounds, like people are like that, you know. If they're gonna see someone, if they're gonna see like an idol, for example, obviously this isn't comparative to Jinsung, but it's like you're gonna want to dress up fancy. You're gonna want to look as nice as you normally are because like you want to be presentable. And I feel like that's just a part of his like image is having that cigarette. And it's like, you know, that kind of also stems with how important this fight is. It kind of ties everything together. Really irrelevant, but you know, something on there. And then predictions on how this fight ends. Not obviously, but I don't think either one of them is going to die. I do feel like if they had if they did fight prior, Kallavan probably had the upper hand, and I think this time around Jinsung is going to have the upper hand. But obviously, it's not. I don't think it's going to be any like world of a difference or like, you know, rubbing his face in the mud or anything like that. And I also think that there might be some talk no jutsu involved from Jinsung's end in terms of, you know, maybe swaying Kallavan in a way or throwing him off guard, or there's some sort of conversation that's going to happen that might throw Kallavan off or change perspectives or something of that nature. And to an extent, probably not crazy, because I also agree with what Isaiah said in terms of him being like a war chief. He probably has high respect for jihad. So I'm just wondering what Jinsung is going to say to him in terms of, you know, obviously being a high member of FUG. So it's definitely going to be an interesting dynamic.
I would say also beyond that, from the small amount we've got from his character profile through comments and stuff, so I could eat my words here, but it also seems that being that he is very regimented and analytical and no bullshit, he's very strict. I would also assume too, he isn't the kind of guy that just like gives into emotion. You know, on a dime. Yeah. So like if Jinsung Ha just gave him like some talk no jutsu, but it was like, yo, you really should, because like it'd be dope. You know what I mean? Like that's the cool thing to do. Like find it in your heart. You know, like obviously I'm being ridiculous.
All the cool kids are doing it.
Yeah, all the cool kids are doing it. Have a cigarette. And Calvin's like, get that shit out of my face. No, but like if he's like, you know, find it within the goodness of your heart to do this, he's gonna be like, no. And logistically that makes no fucking sense. So you're gonna have to come out with me with like a math equation or like something. Like you're gonna have to logistically tell me how why
does it make more sense to join you guys
exactly, which to be honest your argument's probably pretty weak, you know, from his perspective.
Well, I'm not talking at it like that. I mean more almost like an intimidation thing where it's like, oh, you're working for jihad, you're doing XYZ thing, but in reality you don't know shit what's going on behind closed doors. You better watch your back. Like there's ways that you can attack that isn't like, oh, you like jihad's crap, like blah blah blah. Like there's going to be a very sophisticated side of Jinsung Ha, I feel, with the conversation that he's really going to sling stuff at Kallavan, and it's going to throw him off his normal mojo, I feel. And I'm curious to how A, Kallavan reacts, and B, how he internalizes said info that Jinsung is going to give him, because I feel like it's going to be very integral to the plot, and even may give us insight on Bam in the future in terms of progression. I feel like he's gonna spill the beans a little bit, not throw like cover or anything over it, but I do feel like he's just gonna throw some very relevant information that we probably won't know to maybe either try to just like throw it at Kallavan and see how it sticks, or probably throw him off his game, or just to see a reaction, or like there's going to be sophistication behind it. It's not, I think, surface level. I don't know what it is, but I'm curious about it.
I actually think that like he's kind of coming here to just kill Kallavan.
He could be.
Like I think that the whole, you know, the lollipop thing and the motif of that was that like, you know, these kids were getting to Jinsung and sort of starting to get him to open up a little bit, and you know what I mean, and taking another perspective as far as looking at this fight and how we win it, you know, the Wangnan and the Bomb way. But I think with Jihad now putting orders to go after Bomb, plus Kallavan coming to the fray, who maybe if Jinsung did have some past altercation that didn't end well, I think he's like, all right, the gloves have to come off. Like I can't be that, you know, that's what he burns the lollipop and he's like, this is nice, but this isn't going to cut it. Like I got to go settle this with him, and like I cannot let him get bombed. So like if that means I got to end this man's life, that's what I'm doing. Light the cigarette.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Question 3, take it away.
Question 3 comes to us from Elegus. I apologize if that's wrong. Thank you for the question. It is, what do you think about Miseng's character arc? From being the protected one in the beginning, then part of the kids pair with Prince, then growing up through Prince's death and sharing the burden with Wangnan to now being a competent fighter in her own right. What do you think is next for her? An addition by the Fire Potato. How proud of our daughter are you? I'm very proud of our daughter. She's grown up to be a badass berserk mode raging chick, and I'm here for it. So yeah, I love Miseng's character arc because this was, I'm going to be honest, something I didn't expect. I did not expect Miseng to get this level of development. I kind of sort of thought she was just going to be like one of the observers on the team. That, you know, it's like, oh, we like get in a scenario where we need an observer. And it's like, oh, we got Miseng, you know, she fits in that role. But as far as like combat and really like not just combat for the sake of fighting, because like, yes, it's always good to have these characters that can now hold their own, so to speak, in a fight. But like there's growth reason behind why she learns this, right? Like part of a lot of the traumatic things she's experienced was because in those circumstances she was always too weak to do anything about it, or you know, not competent of a fighter to step in and save Prince's lives or save, you know, Arc, you know what I mean? So her now gaining this ability is like, you know, she even frames it beautifully in the when this happens to Bomb, where she's like, if I'm not going to be the reason that somebody else on this team dies. Like I need to be and will get strong enough to defend and protect people. So yeah, I really absolutely fuck with that. I think it was cool seeing, and I love that it's also not like hand-fisted, where it's like, turns out Miseng's just the Hulk in her spare time. It's like, no, we saw a little bit of this way back in the workshop when Verdi, like, and they flash back to it again, where Verdi was like, oh, wow, you kind of got this, like, burst of energy thing going. Okay, cool. And then, like, she kind of lets it loose a little bit in the first round of the workshop battle. And, you know, you're kind of like, oh, she, like, but it, like, puts the seed in your head that she's capable of maybe achieving that. But, like, you know, you don't know in terms of, like, actually grabbing that, like, what that looks like for her. You know, and then we sort of see her when she way back in the like the whole Train City thing, when her Prince and Arc Raptor come in for the save against the Maya-Rhotic Guardian, that she's learned this ability to use the Observer skill, and like, you know, you slowly start to see her progressing in being a viable unit in combat, all, you know, all the way up to now where she just straight up, dude. That stream, I think one of my top moments was just watching Miseng break that nigga's teeth, bro.
Yeah,
that was so like unexpected, to be honest. And it was amazing. I literally felt like Endorsi, where I was like, fuck yeah, girl, fuck him up.
Yeah, that was cool. Literally knocked his bottom row of teeth out.
Yeah, 100%. And I like I said, I loved all of it.
Gavin, what do you think?
All right, so what do you think about Miseng's character arc? In the great words of SIU, puberty. It's a hell of a drug. Hell of a drug. And let me tell you, she showed that rage through that berserk mode. I was about it. I think everybody was about it. It was pretty dope. It was pretty dope. No, but on a more serious note, yeah, it's awesome. Like, we finally get to see our little girl grow, and who doesn't love that? I mean, after the loss of Arc Daddy and Brother Prince, we need it's humbling to see her get to the point where she's at. And I mean, it's pretty cool, especially where it's like, you know, that now she can hold herself in a fight and, you know, not have to really, I mean, we have to look at it from the lens of where her level is at as a regular, because obviously she's like, we can't expect her to be on BAM level fights, and obviously that's not going to be the case.
Of course not.
But, you know, it's cool, especially from someone of her age being younger, being able to, you know, take on older guys and, you know, really just break their teeth off, as you said. So it's great. And, you know, with moving forward, obviously she's going to get more like observer skills and, you know, more practice with her Shinsu, and she's really just going to get stronger as a person, especially as she gets older. So I can't wait to see who she brawls in the future, and really who she just beats the living crap out of, because, you know, she is just going to be one hard mofo. And I mean, she's always just been the best girl. So I am very proud of my daughter Miseng. Make it through puberty well, please, because let me tell you, some people don't make it out alive.
I was like, as an old man of 93, let me tell you, he's like the youngest one in this group.
Yeah. I'm one of them. I've been losing my hair since then, so good luck. Miseng. Don't go bald.
You're wild, bro.
I can accept it.
So I mirror a lot of these
My points. That's
things.
right.
Yeah, sure.
I had to.
I mirror a lot of the things that you guys are saying in terms of that we liked it and that we're proud of her. You know, it's cute. It's not like, you know, the thing about me saying is like, I'm not really expecting a huge bump a lot of times, so that when it does come up, I'm pleasantly surprised, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like I come at me saying and I'm like, because like, you know, if you compare her growth to maybe some other characters in the show, obviously it would not be on par per se, but like it's not supposed to be. So anything we get from that is just icing on top of the cake, you know? So I do like her character arc. It wasn't all that complicated per se, at least right now. She just was training and the fruits of her labor have been shown. Now, obviously, Endorsi, you know, qualifies these two opponents as relatively weaker comparatively speaking. So like Miseng is still going against she's kind of got like EXP share on, you know, like, you know what I mean, type thing. And it's like, okay, I think these are weak enough, you know, like Miseng, go get them. But like, it's still nothing to be scoffed at for sure, because this is like, you know, a 13-year-old girl going and just like knocking a dude's bottom row of teeth out. So like, she's definitely not to be messed with. She's good for it, but yeah, she's come a long way and I'm proud of her. I am. I think what's next for her, I don't know. I don't know how much. Well, I guess she's with them, man, for the long haul. She's got some pretty OP people on her team, but like I always sometimes get like, I guess some people could just ride up the tower and get virtually a free ride. I mean, like look at Rachel, with, you know, just even though they have no ability within you know themselves besides being likable or having luck on their side or being resourceful or something like that. I mean, it's stressed in the beginning of the story that a lot of what helps you is luck, at least according to what is it, Hedon or whoever,
like circumstance.
and circumstance, right? So, you know, it's not, I'm not going to be like, well, it's ridiculous that she's gotten this far in the tower, because then that would be going against the first rule, right? So, yeah, I mean, I think she can keep going if she rides that stride, but obviously she's going to want to stay with the squad, you know, so
I'd like to
hopefully she
see-
just watches out for herself.
I'd like to see her get a little bit more of a handle on her power, because even from what we saw in the latest chapters, I believe it was like expressed that it's, you know, that she couldn't just like do that, like that it's not a stamina and endurance thing, that she couldn't just brawl in berserker mode for like, you know, whatever. So maybe if there was a way to like, because again, from my understanding, it's like very short burst of incredible speed and strength. So like if there's a way to not dilute, but if there's a way to like stretch that out so that it like maybe each impact isn't as strong, but she can utilize that strength longer in a fight, because, you know, then the argument comes up like, oh, that's really cool, again up against like Purple Eye Computer Boy and his, you know, his homie playing Minecraft. But like when you got to fight like, you know, anybody else, or like, you know, even it's like somebody who can take that kind of hit, like then it's just an endurance game. They let you get tired and take your head off. So, you know, I personally going forward would like to see her become a more, you know, and again, I kind of sharing with Ian where I'm not expecting like, it's like, oh, Miseng and Endorsi, you know, because like that's, you know, side characters and main characters. But like I would like to see her I just thought I was going to say like become more of a competent fighter than Boro and Sachi, because I feel like every time we see those two dudes, they're just like, and we're here. And it's like, so I don't know. Yeah, maybe if
They
it's
should
like,
kill someone off.
heard it here first. Yeah, I would like to see her become more of a competent fighter in the sense that like she could last longer in a fight, or maybe even if it's like get another ability to compensate the short burst energy thing. I don't know.
Oh, even then, what if she got like some dope armor, maybe like a big sword and like a cursed mark?
Oh yeah, like Guts.
Like the real Berserker, and like this is the underlying story of how Berserk started. It was really
This is the
Miseng from
prequel.
Tower of God. This is the
Yeah.
prequel. This is the prequel. I'm telling you. How does it make you feel, Ian?
Good. That's
Good?
great. I can
Yeah.
picture her wielding the Dragon Slayer and just
Yeah.
going around
Yeah.
and just wreaking havoc on the
She'd
entire
be
tower.
slaying them hoes.
Hell
All
yeah.
right.
Same hoes.
Now, let's get to that number 4 by Spee.
He goes by Speh.
Spee. All right, we can make a beat out of that. All right. I appreciate your question. I love you. I'm sorry. I'm a terrible person. I see
No,
you
you're
guys.
not. Shut up.
Yeah,
Good person.
everyone knows you made it best.
Sound like my mother. All right. I see you guys always get overwhelmed by long, complex questions. Wow, you really are a viewer of us. Thank you.
Who you calling dumb?
Yeah. I'll have you know that I'm like hella intelligent.
Facts.
I had my education, okay? Right now, I'm tired of you people saying I can't do something, okay? I'm going to do it. So go ahead, yeah.
Always wear 2 pairs of socks. I'm telling you, it'll save your life.
On one foot, but then none on the other.
Well, yeah, who has 2 feet?
True. Who showers too, right?
Oh, that camera was on me the whole time.
What?
Who needs to shower?
I think Spee, I don't know if Spee hit us with a long question one time, and maybe we were like, right.
I think
don't know
they've
if it
just
was
seen all the times that like one of us, Kevin, will read a question and be like, wait a minute, what the fuck does this mean?
Yeah,
So
why
it's
am
like-
I keeping the camera on you and not muting your microphone? All right, so about that, who's Isaiah? I don't know. It's just this weird guy who sits there and like, yeah, when he speaks, you don't hear him. It's like a moving fucking mouth. I think Ian has his hand up his ass, and it's like a puppet, bro. He's like fucking like I don't know, man. I don't know. But we're gonna go back to my question. You're welcome. What are your thoughts? Here's a simple one. What are your thoughts on Battle Goddess Evankhell? What? She's just a badass, bro. Like, not only does she got the flames that will literally that create the literal sun. Like, I mean, that episode was pretty hot. But not only that, the fact that she has the ancient elephant is actually badass because, with SIU breaking probably every bone in his body to draw it, like those were some of the literal coolest scenes that he has actually produced, and like stunning. And the fact that we know that Evankhell has to hold herself back because the administrator will get involved if she doesn't do that, just really goes to show where it's like she is literally melting people to death, does not give a fuck, and is holding back quite a lot of her power. And you're just like, I'm okay. I don't want to see the rest of your power because I don't know if I can handle that because this is enough. And you even had Rack stunned off of flames. And I'm really curious. I don't know if that's a question or not, but like that is something that I am like, did my boy get like that tingling in his wingle? Because let me tell you, when he gave that look and he was like, the flames, I was like, dude, Rack, you get that feeling.
I just picture that panel where Hockney's like, alligator, you okay? And he's like, there's a tingle in my wingle.
No turtles made me feel this way before, and I've been with a lot of turtles. but yeah, no, it's Evankhell's an absolute G, melting people like it's no tomorrow, creating the literal sun and doing it on like a dietary plan because if not, she'll get kicked out of fucking Weight Watchers. So it's absolutely amazing, and I can't wait to see more. And I really want to see her actually like go batshit crazy with no restrictions in the future because that would be literally insane, and I wonder who that would even be against. And, like, if there could be in some weird, like, worlds where we get, like, the top 100 people in the whole tower, and it's, like, a literal free-for-all death match, I want, like, that would be insane. Like, here's, like, a whole galaxy, like, do your bidding, and it's just all of them fight to the death. Did you guys ever watch The Ultimate Showdown of Ultimate Destiny? Have you ever seen that video? Oh, okay. Well, if anybody hasn't, look it up on YouTube. It's literally just, like, 100 random characters like Chuck Norris, Batman, like all these like random people, and it's like cartoon drawing, and it's like the ultimate showdown of ultimate. Like they're all fighting like a free for all, and it's like the most craziest crap happening. Like Shaq coming out like beating someone up and getting like run over by Batman's car, and like Abraham Lincoln coming out and like hitting him with an AK-47. Dude, I don't know how that's actually in it, and I memorized it. Shaq got ran over, but absolutely amazing, and I want that to happen again. So yeah, spoilers if you didn't, but amazing.
It sounds like an amazing
like, I want to keep the power scaling to not get stupid complicated. I was like, all right, so we have like Evankhell run over Miss Cheney, right? And then she explodes in a lightning tornado.
We have Shaq that got ran over by the Batmobile.
And Shaq got ran over by a tire.
All right, I'm gonna read
Shaq.
Shaq
Got covered in a tire track.
What are your thoughts on Battle Goddess Evankhell? I love Evankhell's character design and abilities. I have to say, it is really cool. It has me intrigued 100%. In terms of personality, it's been done before, but it's the badass, like I'm going to do whatever the hell. Sometimes it's like, to me, slightly comical, you know what I mean? It's like, why are you doing this? Why are you taking your life? I don't know, because you touched my chocolate bar. Like something, like something silly. It's like, this is my floor, so I'm going to just like go balls out. But I guess it's like when you're ranked 60, like I guess you have the ability, the free reign to do that, and where other people are just like, what are you, an idiot? You know what I mean? Like, why would you do that, right? So whatever, like the personality, it's like I've seen it before. It's cool. Definitely badass. But yeah, the character design is something that I really dig. I dig it from the actual like military garb where, you know, she looks like some sort of high-ranking officer. I really want to know what's going on with the forehead game in terms of if that's an eyeball or a jewel or whatever, and why and how it's there, and if it actually does anything, or if it's just part of the aesthetic and it doesn't really do anything. Sure. Also seems to have a huge scar going across the face as well, or if it's not a scar, it seems like this discoloration of skin that goes, if you notice, like from the one side it's a little more fair skin and the other side's a little darker. Exactly, right? So that's really interesting. The backstory on that would be really sweet. And obviously, the abilities. I mean, that elephant is the fucking coolest thing. One of the coolest things I've seen, just in terms of like the scale of art and just the way it carries itself, the fighting that I've seen in Tower of God. It's freaking awesome. I love that. It gives me these huge stand vibes. So maybe that's why I have an affinity towards it. But it's just badass. And the fact that it's this literal elephant of fire, right? It's like this ancient calamity. Like I think SIU even refers to them as the high rankers as like a calamity, but I think that's the greatest representation of it, where it's like you melt just being in the presence of, it's like a force of nature quite literally, but being that it has this animalistic quality, it really embodies that well, right? It really puts that to good use. So I love it. I also love the fact that Evankhell uses an orb, if you notice too, to make the sun and start shooting the beams out of it. So like, obviously that the fact that Bomb knows the orb thing, you know, it's like we get to see someone who's ranked 60 utilizing the orb and putting their own spin on it. Like that's going to be really important going forward, because if they're still using it and you're at rank 60, Bomb's going to be using that orb for quite a long time. It's going to be a very powerful weapon at his disposal. So yeah, it's really cool though. Love the aesthetic, love the abilities and the power. And frightening, you know, to go up against. And now it just I just can't help myself. I want to know who's the next best person, right? Who's 59, who's 58, etc., up to wherever, right? Until you get like to Jihad in them. And I also want to know too, to end it off, not only like who's more powerful on that scale, but I can't help but think sometimes the scaling grows exponentially in Tower of God. So it's like if you take where it's if you take your person that's ranked at 1,000 versus your person that's ranked at like 2,000, that gap would be like this. But then if you take your person from like 50 to 60, it would also be that, right? But it's only 10 spots, because it's like you get so much more powerful the higher you go that everyone else is kind of left in the dust, right?
Like it's not like the person who's at 61. It's not like, I could scuffle with Yvonne. It's like, no, I'm like, she's 60.
Exactly.
I literally couldn't. You know, it's like there'd be.
I wonder, and if 59 to 60, it's like that big of a deal. They're just whatever. So that being said, if that is the case, which it seems like it kind of goes towards that, Evankhell, for how badass she is, don't get me wrong, like Jihad's like what, 3 they rank him at or something like that?
Wait, really?
I'm pretty sure they rank him at 3. It's like fan. What the fuck is that guy's name? Fantanium or whatever the hell.
Oh,
Planetarium.
Okay.
Planetarium. He's number 1, Enryu's number 2, Jihad's number 3, Yurik's number 4.
Wait, is that the list from the tower though? Like in the story?
Yeah, somebody let us know in our comments that it's Fantanium, whatever the fuck, number 1, Enryu 2, Jihad 3,
wow,
Yurik
get
4.
cucked, bro. In his own tower, he's not even number 1.
Sure, Enryu's just built different, but I mean,
that's true. But it's
so
like
he's
imagine
just
being the king and like looking at that list and you're like. No, that's cool. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, sure. 3's cool. I guess that's bronze. You know,
top 3. All right, that's what they normally say. Could be 2. Could be 1.
Yeah, for real. But my point is that is 57 positions above Evankhell, and Evankhell is literally creating the sun. So that's crazy. So anyway, go on.
I love Battle Goddess Evankhell. She is fucking badass by definition of badass. Yeah, it is crazy that like sort of like what you were saying, that her main, one of her main things is the use of that orb. This is something that we've seen Bam use. So does that mean if we slap Bam with his sun orb, he can learn to use sun orb techniques?
Yeah, for real. Yeah.
Because we know Bam could take a hit from a nuke or a black hole, and like I feel like the sun and black hole, it's like
maybe
kind of the same
he
thing.
Doesn't melt.
Yeah. But also, like you were saying, it's like she is not. She's not up there in the single digits, like where Jihad is at, let's say. But like, of the high rankers, she is number 60. I mean, that's there's 40 people. And again, if we're talking about the power scaling here, and if it is like we're saying, where it's like, oh, 60 to 65 is basically like a whole world of difference. Evankhell is, and clearly just from what we've seen is absolutely nothing to scoff at. I do absolutely love her character design. I love this like military. It's like she's got the military like whole garb set up, but like you were saying, there's a lot of things about her like character design in terms of like the scarring on her face, that weird eye jewel thing, whatever that is, that like add a little bit of like, just enough pizzazz to the character where it's not just like carbon cutout of like crazy battle horny military girl, where it's like she's got this like her own little like aesthetic going on or whatever, which is cool. I definitely want to, sort of like you were saying, I'd like to see her paired up against somebody within her ranking, like so I guess something of a much more even fight, because as cool as it is to see, like she's just, this isn't a fight. Like she's just killing people.
Her
she's
just showing off.
just
I mean, we're
roasting.
here for it.
Yeah,
but like,
yeah. Well, that's the thing. That's the other thing is, as much as I'm like in this story and I'm like listening to characters like Bam, where it's like, oh, we should climb this tower, but like we need to do it a better way or a different way than Jihad, and killing people and subjugating to them through the fear of our power is like not the way to do it. I gotta lie, dude. If I would be saying that, like watching it back, I'll just be like, yo, back up. And they're like, no. And she's like, all right. And just melts them with the sun. It's like, but that way works, man. Like it's like she does it and they're dead. And if they don't work with her, then she just eats them with her fire elephant or lights them on fire with the sun. And it's like, and she's not this character who's like, oh, but what does it mean to like grapple with your mouth? She's like, no, I'm going to kill you because like this is the battlefield. This isn't fucking children's playground. And if you come over here and if you swing at me, be prepared to be melted by the sun. It's like, cool. Like I'm kind of here for it. It's dope. I love her.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So moving on to question 5, we have by Riru. Riru asks, it's interesting how Hwaryun essentially replaces Khun as the strategist in the Last Station arc. She lied to Bomb in order to carry out a realistic plan where half the party would be abandoned without his consent. Their team had a massive falling out. All right, let's hang on. Before I address this question, first of all, it's not half the team, okay? It's like 3 people, all right, max. There's like 12 people on the team, all right? That's like a quarter at finest, all right? Number 2, it's not a huge falling out, okay? She gave Endorsi multiple plans and then says, Bomb, like, you probably shouldn't do this, but go ahead if you're going to do it. I'm trying to give you the most analytical thing, go. Just want to address that because I feel there's a little bit of leading on that one. I'm just playing games. But now Bomb is resorting to rushing in there. Well, I am a little bit, I will say. It's like someone's got to defend her out here. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like she's not getting any cool outfits. You know what I mean? It's like people are like, oh, you're weird. You know what I mean? You're not as cool as Khun. You know what I mean? Like it's always like she's coming up second rate. And it's like, you know what? I kind of like Hwaryun. Gavin, shut the fuck up. I kind of like Hwaryun. So it's like, Anyway,
she wouldn't like
I
you.
feel like you're a stan, but you're like the most sensible stan. Like everybody's there is like, we've got to like kiss the ground she walks on, and you're like, I mean, like none of that, but like,
no,
let's talk about how are you?
Yeah,
like, you're just the guy who's like, excuse me.
I love a lot of the characters, and it's like a lot of times I feel like people think that it's like, oh, if you like X character, that means that you're shitting on X other character, right? So like if I say this, some people might take it as like, oh, so now Khun is second rate, and it's like, no, like relax, like Khun's pretty dope, but it's like I feel like some people automatically would just like demonize that. I think there's more to it. I don't know. I think she's a cool character, but that's besides the point. Their team had a massive fallout. Now Bomb is resorting to rushing in there without any plan on how he's going to say. He never has a plan on how he's going to save everyone except to sacrifice himself. What are some differences that you notice between Khun and Hwaryun when acting as Bomb's strategist? How differently do you think Bomb's journey would have played out if Khun wasn't there from the very beginning? Okay, so the real questions, the meat and potatoes here is what the difference between Hwaryun and Khun are as strategists in this scenario. I actually think that while Khun is a strategist, I actually think that Khun a lot of times also excels, and sometimes it takes precedent over the strategic, but the tactical version. I think Khun is very good at thinking on his feet in the moment, whereas like Hwaryun is a little different in the sense that not that she can't do that, but she already has every single piece in motion. And not that Khun doesn't do that, but I feel like because Khun doesn't have the abilities of a guide, it kind of limits him in terms of how far that can actually extend, right? So how many steps can you prepare in advance because you actually know some of the ways that things are going to pan out? It definitely gives Hwaryun an advantage in terms of strategic planning. She's also very cutthroat with anyone who isn't Bomb in that regard, and Khun even was like that at first, but the issue is that, well, not that it's an issue, but Khun and Bomb, understand that for Khun, it's like it's Bomb's world, I'm just living in it type thing, and it's like I'm gonna go and follow him and all that. And like Hwaryun, though, on the other hand, is like you're my god, which would make you think that it's there, but also there is kind of a goal that we have to hit as well. And while I do care about your happiness, like I'm not really gonna pull any punches when it comes to like kind of balancing that. And then if it comes push to shove and you're really adamant, sure, I'll let you do it. But like, I'm not leading with that, if that makes sense. And I feel like Khun doesn't do that a lot as well. I feel like this plan in particular, this is like, to be fair, this scenario is like really large scale. Not that Khun hasn't gotten out of some pretty large scale situations before and found ways out of it, but this isn't like, let's get out of one floor on the hell train. This is like, there's the literal Jihad's army and like multiple high rankers. There's people everywhere. They're flooding the skies. The train's getting derailed. Like, this is huge. You know what I mean? Like, for her to be able to navigate this many avenues and be like, here, Endorsi, I actually gave you a plan A and B in case this goes down, and you go here, open this door here, do that there. Like, you know, there's a lot going on in that. So I obviously give her credit for like the ridiculous plan that she came up with almost on the fly there. But yeah, I think that the difference is that it's a very large, like Hwaryun is like 20 steps ahead in that, right? But not because it's like, oh, she's just that much smarter than Khun, but because she can actually see it. So that dictates her plan in a bit of a different way, where Khun seems to have a plan or strategy going in, but sometimes that gets kind of shaken. And so he has to resort to a tactical way to kind of pivot in that moment. Whereas like Hwaryun is like, no, these are the options. And like, I already have these chess pieces laid out. You can choose what you want to do, but I already know what avenue and path that leads down based off your choice. So there really isn't a matter of this tactical approach, at least the way I see it, as much as with Khun, because she has that super foresight ability. I hope that answered it well. It's kind of hard to do that. But how differently do you think Bomb's journey would have played out if Khun wasn't there from the very beginning? Man, it's a big question, because I mean the whole story would be different. Khun, it's the trope, the anime trope where it's like the bros, you know what I mean? Like the Gon and Killua, the Bomb and Khun, in this Itadori and Todo, you know what I mean? Like, or like whatever, where it's like that duo, and it's like they work for each other in that sense, where it's like they're helping each other get stronger. They're generally pretty opposite. One's usually naive, one's usually more analytical, etc. So I think obviously if he didn't meet Khun, Bomb would not have grown as much as he has, and Khun wouldn't grown as much as he has, because they kind of play off that with each other. So I really don't know. Maybe one of these guys has a better explanation for how they think exactly Bomb's journey would have panned out. But what do you got?
I think the main difference between Khun and Hwaryun as strategist is that Hwaryun, because she has this so like the main pro to Khun's ability to be strategical, let's just say, is I think Khun is, like you were saying, is very good at being an adaptive strategist. So like he'll make a plan, but if the plan goes wrong, he very quickly can put up a counter solution on how to, like, all right, shit, that didn't work. Do this instead, then we'll work around the fact that this X, Y, and Z are here, and can sort of makeshift mini plans in between the first initial plan, so that everybody, or for as many people as possible, can still get out fine and alive or whatever. But obviously, because he doesn't have this ability Hwaryun has, literally doesn't have the foresight of like, oh, I didn't even know this player could be a potential card in the game here, which completely throws out anything I could have come with now. I'm going to need a little bit more time to think, which is getting into one of his cons, where it's like he just, he can only work with the cards that he physically, like, that are present and known. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Where Hwaryun, obviously that being a pro of hers, is she literally has foresight and can, know, like, has all these paths already open and is like, okay, I already know, like, as far I'm making a plan here, but it's because, like, I literally know where each of these paths goes, and like pick your best shot. The con, though, that I think of that is that none of those plans, and I would actually say this is a pro in Khun's favor too, is that none of her plans take in the people that involve them. So like a lot of times her plans are like, all right, if A, B, and C go here and do this, then that's fine. They'll get sacrificed so that X, Y, and Z can go over and do this thing. And like we see within this arc here, Bam's like, all right, yeah, that's a cool plan, but like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to leave these people behind. And now it throws the whole thing to a ride because the whole point of her making this plan was to make sure Bomb is safe, who is now willingly throwing himself in danger anyway, because the plan she came up with put people in danger against his will, where it's like, again, you know, the pro of Khun is Khun being able to like either empathize with other people other than Bomb and take in other people's, which is definitely something he's developed lately. You know, he was a lot more, cutthroat and cynical, definitely when we started, but like lately is able to take that stuff into consideration. Again, if he comes up with a plan similar to, let's say, Hwaryun's plan, and Bam's like, but I don't want to do that. We can't leave these people behind. Again, Khun is like, okay, shit. All right, well then what about, you know what I mean? And can quickly adapt to a different plan that maybe does involve, you know, something like that. So it's just that Hwaryun is a lot more cynical, and she's working with like a different set of tools. Again, she literally can see into the future, whereas Khun can't see into the future and is only making, you know, paths out of what he can see. So it's like they're working off two different branches, but like I do think in their own rights, yes, they're both incredibly good strategists. They just work under different pretenses. And then how do I think Bam's journey would be different if Khun wasn't there? I mean, obviously Bam wouldn't have his lover, and that would just be tragic for all of us because they're obviously in love. But I do think that Khun has sort of been like, Khun and Bam, like they do grow off each other, and they have been feeding off each other in terms of like character growth throughout this story, right? There's a lot of moments where, you know, Bam is thinking of or going through X thing, and Khun sort of gives him his input here, and, you know, vice versa, where it's like Khun and Bam genuinely seem to want what's best for each other as far as this journey goes, where like, again, Hwaryun wanting what's best for Bam, and Hwaryun wanting Bam to like succeed in this mission are not the same thing. And I think, again, in light of something like this, like that really comes to the forefront, because it's like, yeah, you made this plan, Hwaryun, that's all cool and great. He's like, but I didn't want this. Like, your plan willingly put these people in danger, and I didn't tell you to do this. And like, that's all fine and dandy if Bam was, you know, if he was more like Hwaryun, but he's not. So now it ultimately renders her, it doesn't matter what path she puts him on, because it's useless if he's just going to reject it and throw her, like her whole plan means nothing, right? Because now the whole point was to keep him out of danger, was to get him out of this in one piece. But if he's throwing himself in front of these rankers that she spent all this time trying to avoid him, it's like, it almost feels silly that it's like, well, Hwaryun, you might have to consider Bam's feelings at some point, especially if he's just going to, if that's the way he's always going to be geared towards. So maybe there's an argument that like if Khun wasn't there from the beginning, maybe Bam would have ended up being able to agree more with Hwaryun as far as like letting commit, because I think that's where Khun comes in. The fact that Khun's plans have, at least again lately, like involved and been able to adapt Bam's feelings, like that's what Bam prioritizes with a strategist like Khun. Where Hwaryun, again, you'd be stupid not to prioritize or value the person who can literally see into the future. But it's like they want two different things for Bam.
Yeah, what do you think?
I guess for me, you know, a lot of great points. I'm going to try to go a little bit different in terms of my approach and not keep it as like, I'm just going to try not to repeat as much stuff. But for me, I feel like with Bam and the decision that he's made is actually going to be eye-opening to Hwaryun, because she says something that stuck out for me, where it was she said it's almost a 0% chance possibility that he's going to be able to save these people. And if she's like, if it does, it's gonna really mean something, because it isn't an outcome that even she can see. And that kind of is what I'm alluding to, is having that foresight and seeing the future isn't the end all be all. Although to her, that's what she knows. We know that Bam is someone who has the ability to change that future in terms of really whatever he puts his mind to. And we also know that Rachel and Wangnan are two of those people up on the podium. So at the very end of the day, he is going to beat her expectation by at least saving two people, and we know it's going to be more because that's Bam. So with that and plot armor, he is going.
Hwaryun never stood a chance.
So we already know that the limitation that she is putting on Bam already, in terms of she isn't Bam, we know is going to go outside the box and do these things. Hwaryun doesn't have that trust or faith that he has the capability to do such things. And with that, in the future that she sees, she isn't going to have that mindset, let me think outside the box to make this plan work, because she is getting like the Google email sent to her head that's like, no, these are the outcomes. That's it. There's no way around it. And that, in a sense, is going to force her into thinking in these specific ways, which Khun doesn't have, in what allows him to be more abstract in his thoughts and plans, and knowing Bam's tendencies, creating said plans around them. Since Hwaryun default isn't going to have those thoughts, or like physically isn't getting those sent to her, she is going off of the future that is always right in her probabilities. However, again with Bam, and that he is the person who breaks said, thoughts and predisposition chains, when he does follow through with his plan, although stupid, and save people and actually do the exact opposite of what Hwaryun physically believes he is capable of doing. I hope that for her, it is going to open her eyes and realize that, hey, maybe not everything that I get is always 100% right, because that's kind of the problem that me and Isaiah have had with her in these thoughts, in that her not having the trust or telling anybody. It's almost like condescending in a way, where it's like, I know what the future is going to be. I'm guiding these plans. It's for the best interest of Bam, and nobody else is really going to know about it, because A, they can't know for certain circumstances, yes, but there have been some where she could have let people know in, but it's that whole trust that isn't there that Bam and Khun have, that is. So with that, and everything that Bam's going to do in terms of saving people, I hope that Hwaryun really gets the gist of, it is possible with this person to A, think outside the box, B, I'm going to have to really play on his field a little bit in terms of what he wants as a person, and maybe have a little bit of fucking faith in a person. Like, obviously she's fully invested in Bam and wants the best outcome for him to go, but it's like, if you haven't realized by now that Bam is really just going to do whatever he wants for his homies, it's what he's been doing since day one. Like, I get it's not a part of what you're seeing in the future, but hopefully with him breaking said, futures that she has gotten and creating a new one, that she starts to understand that, hey, there's more to this kid. Maybe we should try to include some of his thoughts, even though they might not be the desired outcomes or the probable outcomes that she is getting. So we'll have to see. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. And then, Bam and Khun, I really echo the same with that with the final question, is how it would play out. I mean, probably lonely, probably have less of a sense of self. If he was just following Rachel like really blindly up there, and it's like, she is my only grasp, I have no one else, I couldn't watch that shit. Let's just say, I don't want to know how it would plan out from the beginning if Khun wasn't there, because I know I wouldn't like it, and I don't even want to think about it. So I'm going to be grateful that Khun is there, and I'm going to love his ass. So that is the end of my question.
I just want to say one thing real quick, because you guys made really good points, and I do enjoy this question a lot. Besides the characters, it's an interesting topic here. And I think you brought something up. You said that, placing faith in Bam. And I actually think that she does place faith in Bam, but it's like this weird struggle that goes on in her mind, or maybe not even a struggle. She kind of like just lets it be as is, but always arrives at this conclusion where I feel the fact that she's like, yeah, go ahead, you could go. Like, there's zero probability, but lets him. If it was genuinely like, okay, you have to live under any circumstance, I won't allow it. But it's interesting that she lets him go, because she's like, it's 0%, but if he does, right? And it's like, I feel like there's this weird subconscious thing in the back of her mind, and which is what I find interesting about her characters, that there's always this battle between, okay, what's best what's best for Bam in terms of his strict survivability, or what's best in terms of Bam for what he wants. And it's like, it's the core advantage that Khun has, because I think for all intents and purposes, I think Hwaryun is a better strategist in terms of straight analytical, but I think the huge advantage that Khun has, and specifically when it comes to Bam, is the fact that Khun has a better understanding, I think you highlighted it, of Bam's tendencies. I think that is a huge point in his favor, is that Khun understands Bam's human element. And it's not that Hwaryun does it, but I almost feel like sometimes she comes to the conclusion, she goes, yeah, go, but then she's almost like, kind of like, okay, you chose that again, like whatever, where it's like Khun almost expects that. So it's like he's always gearing his plans in such a way to accommodate for that, so it doesn't come as a surprise when it comes down the pipe. And I think that's something that Hwaryun is really going to have to grow with in terms of Bam, where it's like, I'm going to have to expect this human element, this tendency in Bomb's personality, instead of regarding him and everybody else as a chess piece per se, with him being the king, you know, like with Khun, where it's like Khun is always going towards his plans for the most part. Like I said before, it's really not some sort of ulterior goal. It's okay, what does Bomb want to do? I'm following. It's Bomb's world. I'm living in it. So it's like he's never having this like fight in his head where it's like, well, Bomb would really like to do this, but I know that like realistically the best way to survive for him is this, right? At least anymore, it seems that he's like really grown in that area where it seems like Hwaryun is like there's always that clashing in the mind where it's like, well, this is clearly the best logical plan, but then Bomb always throws that wrench where it's like, yeah, but I don't have to be logical, right? And so I think
the other thing is that like the faith that Hwaryun has in Bam is not the same faith that Khun has. Because the faith that Hwaryun has is more of like the faith you have in a god, right? Mm-hmm. She's like, all right, this doesn't make any sense to do, but you are my god. So if you're saying you want to do this, I'm not going to be the one that tells you you can't. Where like Khun has faith in Bam as a person. So like, again, if I feel like if Khun was presented with the same scenario, it's like, all right, I don't think this would work, but like, I trust you. If you think we can do this,
it's a good point.
I'm going to back you. And like, I will find a way to make this work. I will work my hardest to make sure that if this is what you really want, I'll get us out of here alive. Don't like where it's like, that's what I think Hwaryun is going to have to. And we've talked about this before, actually, way back with the workshop, where it's like, I do think ultimately, at least in my opinion, this story could work her character in a way where she stops looking at Bam so much as this god figure and starts looking at more as a person. Yeah. Because I do think Hwaryun brings very specific strategic elements to the table that Khun doesn't have, be it the foresight, but is lacking in the sense that like she's not as, and sure, we could use the word manipulative, but like Khun, not because Khun is obviously very good at this stuff when it comes to Bam because he knows Bam so well. But I would argue that Khun is also pretty good at just manipulating people. Like, he understands how people work really well. And, like, Hwaryun, like, that is an area that she struggles in. So it's like if Hwaryun could, in the future, you know, again, learn to look at Bam more as a person and what it is he really wants out of this journey, like, that combined with the foresight would definitely, I think, put her ahead. But it's like that's, you know, at least in this arc we've seen, that's what's, like, severely lacking. Because it's like, again, if she comes up with the greatest plan, Bam doesn't want to do it, doesn't even matter. Yeah.
No, that's a good point, actually. I completely agree. It's well said. Anyway, you have the next question. Great question, by the way.
Thank you,
Thank you for putting it forward.
So next question, 6, comes from Irene Sharda. They say, Yuri and Endorsi are risking a lot here as princesses of Jihad, and we know from several instances throughout the story that Jihad is not afraid to strip a princess of her title or have her killed. What do you think the consequences of Yuri and Endorsi's decisions here will be, if any? This is tough because I'm not gonna lie, it's got me pretty scared. I don't know because I don't know like what the scale is, right? If it's like, oh, I'm sorry, princess, did you just put your toe into that pool that's not yours, killing you, you know? Or if it's like, you like shouldn't have done that thing, like, you know, and then like, all right, go on, but like one more time, and I'm taking your head off, like type beat. If it's like, I don't know what and I guess the other thing is this question kind of, it says if any, so fair enough, but it does weirdly imply that like there will be some consequences, and I only say that because like, arguably, if we keep this situation contained to the last station, like Jihad doesn't really have to know. And like, you know, I guess that's like, oh, you know, some people could be like, oh, well, you know, that's convenient, but like, I guess it's because, like, my only other thing is if he finds out, he's got to take some action, right? So, like, my only thing is he either doesn't find out or he finds out and the action he takes. Because I guess my thing is if he finds out and he himself takes action, then it's lights out. It's game over. So, sure, if he finds out, but then he, like, tries to send somebody else to take care of it, maybe we could, you know, fuck around with that or meddle with that person or whatever. But then it becomes a problem of like, he always knows and he knows that these people who he's sending are. So it's like, it just kind of muddies up the story in terms of like conflict between characters if he finds out. So I actually kind of think the best method, at least for now, is that he can't really find out that they like, you know, went against him. At least for Yuri, I want to say. Because I actually kind of like the idea of this being Endorsi, like one of her tests in terms of like her relationship and her friendship with people like Bomb and the party of like, where does she stand, right? Because it's been alluded to before with the whole Garam thing, and even before that, way back in season 1, that like Endorsi, obviously because she's had to fight so hard to become a princess of Jihad, like values this position. She values this status, and it is something that's very important to her until she met Bomb. And up until this point now, it's been this constant, back and forth between her, where it's like, all right, going forward, I go up this tower, like I'm gonna eventually have to pick, do I want the lifestyle of a princess of Jihad, or do I want the lifestyle of, Bam's companion? Those two things can't coincide because Bam is going against Jihad. So choosing Bam means no to Jihad, choosing Jihad means no to Bam. So I kind of like this being, maybe even if it's not like the final moment for her to choose, this being like one of the stepping stones for her to make a stance and be like, all right, Endorsi, like, come on, girl, you got to pick one. Like, which one am I picking? I got to make a stand here. And like, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, the main thing that muddies this up for me is like, I feel like if Jihad finds out, like, realistically, it's game over. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, because obviously both of Yuri and Endorsi aren't going to be able to take Jihad. Yeah. So like, he can't know, or he finds out, and like I said, he sends some lackeys, but then it's like, why are you doing? I don't know. I personally actually don't really think there's going to be any consequences or any serious consequences. Maybe it'll be a thing of like somebody finds out, and instead of telling Jihad, they use that info to blackmail Yuri and Endorsi into doing something else. But that's my thing.
What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. I feel like he can't find out because, I mean, we know if you piss in this guy's cornflakes, he'll fucking kill you. Like, I mean, look at.
To be fair, I'd be very upset if somebody peed in my cornflakes.
All right, fair enough. Well, when you have the box next to you, you can just fucking pour another bowl and call it a day and just throw out the other one.
Yeah, but it's on principle. You peed in my cornflakes.
Yeah, but like if Yuri pees in your cornflakes, you can't like fight her over it.
In fact, that's half of a golden shower. You fucking sprinkle that shit on you. Call it a night.
Cornflakes, he could kill her. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
Gotta pick your battles.
No, fair enough.
Like if Yuri does it, you're like, all right, I'll just pour another glass. Fair enough. No,
does it again? Okay, I have another box in the cupboard, actually. I'll go get that. I don't know why you're so fucking obsessed with doing this today, but
she does it again. You're like, I'll go to the store. I guess I'm just buying cornflakes today. Fuck.
Motherfucker. All right, I should have chose my words a little better there because I didn't think that'd start a fucking conundrum here. But we obviously what happened to Gustang and Hansung Yu, which is the fact that Gustang gave Rachel an item and a little bit of guidance, and default Jihad was to death with Gustang, the head of a family, and like also a floor leader, Hansung, the guy. Geez, my brain. So obviously, even doesn't matter on their power. It's pretty much death, no matter what you do. If there's any sort of treason, and being Yuri and Endorsi princesses at such a high esteem held in the tower, to literally, if they're see the war or any if they see the army, they all need to bow to a knee. Like they don't do that to just anybody unless you're a princess. So like they're held to such a high standard that even I feel like in this scenario, especially with Yuri and Endorsi literally working with Bam since way back in the beginning, like, yeah, well, what is Jihad? Jihad's not going to give her a slap on the wrist. He's willing to kill anybody. Like, who cares? It's irrelevant to him because the princesses themselves are irrelevant in terms of how he set up the fucking test. So, like, what does it matter if he kills them? Like, they're already irrelevant in his mind. Yeah. Like, quite literally, it's set up that way. So it's like, of course it's going to be death. That's the only consequence in this man's eyes, I feel like. And, yeah, so that's also why I also agree with, I feel like he can't find out because if he does, they're just going to be running from Jihad's army too, and Jihad. And I mean, they could keep the story like that, and they're kind of just like ducking through these like underground passages and like doing like the shady shit, and it's like, on the run. But how much of a story?
Road trip.
But fugitive.
Yeah, there has to be like some sort of like, because we have heard from whatever that chick's name with one eye, Garam Ha. Kanha. What's her name?
Cleopatra.
You said with one eye?
Yeah, the squadron leader. Yeah.
Oh, Xian
He. That's
oh. He was like Chun Ka Ku Chiki
yeah,
Chicken.
Bro, I know Xian Li. No, but we know that when they were fighting, she was like, "Oh, you need to make a report. You need to make a report." So obviously, there's going to be people in the background making a report. So I wonder.
Obviously, there's lackeys.
Obviously, there's like no, but
Make
I'm wondering.
make a report.
You motherfuckers, let me finish. But I'm wondering if there are people who are, sprinkled, whether fug or not, who are actually going to intercept said reports, and they'll never actually get sent through to the end goal, and to what extent, because obviously if they're making reports, they're going to get to Jihad or someone to that extent. So there has to be someone on the inside who is either stopping these things, because I can't imagine that they're all just going to get killed. Like, I don't think everybody in that whole army is just going to get iced. So there has to be someone muddling information that is getting passed along to where Jihad wouldn't know. And that's the only way that I can imagine him not finding out.
So that's actually
maybe
a good point.
maybe Yuri does wind up handing the green April over to Miss Cheney, because she figures that she's like, okay, kind of caught here, between a rock and a hard place. Like, Jihad knows the drill. What's up? Doesn't know, though, that you're also kind of playing treachery here. So maybe kind of passing the torch a little, and then Yuri's like, I kind of have to go on the DL here because I can't just be so out in the open. I don't know.
The only thing about that is that kind of very much puts the ball in Macheni's court in terms of like the power dynamic there, because it's like now not only by doing that is Yuri admitting to this thing where she could at the very least play dumb, but now she's giving her one of her weapons, which makes Macheni at an inherent disadvantage. So Macheni could arguably just still tell Jihad and keep the weapon. And it's like, sure, like off principle, she could not do that.
Isaiah, do you think I put any thought into that theory whatsoever? Can you not dissect it and make me look stupid? Thank you very much. I just think
it's actually
cool.
incredibly plausible. I actually just on Gavin's thing though. I do think it'd be hilarious if like this whole battle ensues and it's like the one guy's like, all right, that took a long-ass fucking time, but this 500-page report, which includes both princesses betraying Jihad, is ready to send. And he turns around, and Yuri and or Endorsi are there, and he's like, actually, I was going to shred this. Just
kidding. He's like, wow, just spent 4 weeks writing this report. All right. Motherfucker, not again. He's just like, give me a break.
Didn't even save it to the flash drive.
Yeah. Right. His computer crashed.
He like burns the papers. He's like, all right, done. They're like, and the flash drive. It's like,
I was wondering if like a weird tie-in with Emily could come, but that kind of wouldn't make sense. But I don't know. Weird.
I do think the information route is valid though, because we know that actually it's not like Jihad rolled up down on the last station was like, hey guys, hey, what's going on? Remember me, Jihad? Like, you guys want to do this thing for me? It's like Jihad told this guy who told this guy who told this guy. Like, the chain of command of information is long enough to where, yeah, we could probably like cut it off. You know what I mean? It's like you just intercept it before Jihad listens to it.
Jihad's too busy with like trying to master fate and shit, you know? Because every time I think to myself, I'm like, bro, just come downstairs. Just walk down the stairs, and like you probably could have ended this all in like 10 minutes. You know what I mean? It just would have been like, I'm the fucking king. You know what I mean? Like the rules don't really apply to me. Like right, I mean, like the
I'm the fucking king.
Like sure, there's administrators and stuff like that, but we've killed one before. Who's to say we can't do it again? No, I'm just messing around, but he's just, he's a busy man. Anyway, Gavin, how about you read the last question for us?
Oh God, dropping the ball on me. Okay. We got.
It was your turn.
I divert to the back of the line. All right, Keith. We have Catan 237. Jihad and people probably related to him, like Wang Nan. How do you know? Have been mentioned to have the seed of a king, and in White's case, REA mentions that he sees the seed of a demon in him. Do you think this is a coincidence? Go wild with your theories. Well, my theory is super wild, and they're all playing Minecraft, playing their seeds now. Actually, it's not wild at all. I think that it's not a coincidence, and quite literally, what we saw by White is probably what we're going to see, something similar to Wang Nan. I mean, you just told me that he's related. Like,
well, he didn't say
Jihad and people probably related to him, like Wang Nan. Like,
probably.
Nah, it's canon. He's the seed of the king, bro. You ain't some seed of like some.
You know how I read questions. I take the words out I don't like.
Facts.
I only read the question the way I want to. Okay. Yeah. He didn't write any fucking word I don't want him to.
Unless he is somehow the seed of like the someone above Jihad. Like he's got to be some sperm donor type shit where he's like, give me the top cream crop shit, and I'm like, Bam! Now I'm that baby. So and I don't know where I'm going with this. Yeah. Either way, I don't think it's a coincidence. I think that Wang Nan is going to I think he's going to be an absolute powerhouse. And I mean, about as wild as I can go is he actually isn't jihad seed. As weird as that sounds, like if there was maybe like we know there are more powerful people than Jihad, if like in some weird way he's actually a descendant of someone stronger than Jihad, and it's like, you know, the red herring has been Jihad, like, oh, he's the seed of the king, like Jihad being the king. Huh?
But why he look like Jihad?
I don't know. He's got blonde hair. He's got horns. Does Jihad have horns?
Yeah, dog.
Yeah.
Does he?
Yeah.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah. He turned into a demon the one time.
What was that?
I said he turned into a demon in front of Bomb. They came out. No, he does have them now. He legit has them in the back of his neck. I'm trying to be fucking serious here.
All right. Well, then, yeah, that sperm donor from Jihad really worked out in his favor. Yeah, he's going to be the next Big Daddy Jihad, probably better. And
I'm gonna tag in.
Yeah, I'm done. Dude, it's bedtime.
Shot. It's like 11 o'clock. All right. Anyway, I wasn't ready. No, just kidding. So, the seed of the king thing has come up quite frequently. So either y'all don't know and you're just curious to hear our theories, or like this is coming up pretty soon, or you're like there in season 3 or something like that. And they're like, what do you think about the seed of the king? The seed of the king? The seed of the king? Have you seen it?
Like you should be thinking about the seed of the king.
And it's like, really? The seed of the what? The seed of the king. So I am curious. And I think I stated this in a previous discussion, but I don't think anymore that it's Jihad's seed per se, because Jihad refers to himself as having the seed of the king. So I think it's something that's bestowed or something intrinsically linked with people maybe that share that lineage, bloodline, or people that are just chosen to be worthy. Again, the fact that Jihad and Wang Nan look literally identical, not literally, but pretty damn freaking close in terms of like the way they're built and everything. Really leads me to believe it's more of like a bloodline thing, because that would just be like really weird if it's like, no, we just really look alike. I'd be like, shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? Like, you're not handing me that. So it's like,
God just sees Wayne Nine's like, you look cool, dude.
and it's like takes a selfie with him. You ever see those like doppelganger things where you like meet someone in Europe or something, you look exactly
What's
the
your
same?
name? Wang Nan Ja? Dude, that's so crazy. It's so
yeah,
close.
Like, stop. You know, so they're definitely, they have to be related. They have to share some sort of bloodline, some way, shape, or form. In terms of what extent that goes, are they a clone? Is it his son? Is it a cousin? I don't know. You know, like, point is, bloodline, I think, has something to do with it. And the reason I say that is because it might tie into the seed of the demon, whereas Arya, the father, might also have that in him. And he's able to now pick that out in his son, where it's like, because there's not many of them from what they say, the REAs, because he eats them all, but or whatever he does, you know, whatever. So like the point is, he's a dickhead. All right, so like clearly he's gonna raise his kid to be a dickhead, because that's what he told him to do, is be a dickhead. So like he's like, I see that you're a dickhead inside of your
Hi,
soul.
White, I notice you're a dickhead. I'm a dickhead.
I also am one. So no, like all jokes aside, though, I do think that there is something to be said about, you know, these like supernatural beings are really the only things that I see transcending the 10 great families, the heads, Jihad, etc., besides potential other irregulars, people that come outside of it. But the only things that seems to outrank them just inherently, but naturally, are the administrators, and are these like ethereal or spiritual beings, things that are like beyond that sort of understanding. I would say demons might be one that is included in that. Okay. And whatever these seeds are, you know what I mean? It's something that's like bestowed to these people. So it's like maybe the REA father made a deal or something, or was like chosen, you know, in that right when they got up there, whatever the case might be, to do it. Yeah. So I think that might be something about it. What do you got?
I think the seed of the king, specifically that one, is a little bit more of like a not like code name, but like I think that part of it is something Jihad placed on it himself. Okay. Where it's like the seed that Jihad had in him was not inherently referred to as the seed of the king, because I think the position of king as a tower is something Jihad made up. So like he has that, right? He's like, I'm the king. therefore this is the seed of the king.
Mm.
People see that in Wang Nan, and anybody who can recognize that is like, oh, you have the same, that's the seed of the king. But I think then when you refer to stuff like seed of the demon, the only thing that comes to mind is when White went to that badass transformation for a few moments, kind of looked like some good demon. So I wonder if like,
oh yeah, that one. Okay.
If that demon, if White has a literal demon inside of him, again, similar to how Jihad operates and similar to how Bam operates, because we know that he acquired the red Thrisha, but the blue Thrisha, to our understanding, he had for much longer. So I wonder if there's like, sort of like you were saying, these beings that have existed in the tower that transcend the people who have lived in the tower and maybe even the existence of the tower itself, and like choose like certain people, or maybe they choose certain, bloodlines, lineages of people or whatever, or cling to certain powers or Shinsu, whatever. And like that's how they decide who to inhabit or inherit or whatever. And after that, sort of operate off of this, bloodline thing where it's like, oh, we inherited, or the demon inherited the body of the first REA family member. So now anybody who had not, so it's now not a thing of like everybody in the REA family is going to have the demon, but like now there's a chance because it's in the bloodline. Same thing with Jihad, where it's like Jihad had got the seed, and now not anybody and everybody that Jihad gives birth to or whoever or has in his lineage can have it, but the chance is there now, i.e. Wangnan. I think that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I also wonder if it comes down to whoever has the seed. So say Jihad has the seed of the king and Wangnan does. It's a matter of whatever being the seed of the king is can't split itself into multiples. Like I'd imagine that they're two different entities, or it is one entity that has to be passed down to another, because that would explain why Wangnan hasn't had any crazy power spikes, because the seed is probably planted in him. However, the full power remains in Jihad, and it's not a matter of it'll just pop right into him. Like it might physically need to leave Jihad in a sense, whether it can split in half and move partial of its power, but then Jihad would lose power. So then you'd have to assume that a seed of a king is multiple entities that maybe are comprised of one. So that's where I'm wondering if it's like with we go back to White and his father, and he's like, oh, like, well, like, you have the seed of the demon, like, we'll have to see how you go. Like, I wonder if it gets to a certain point where it's like, it's a separate demon apart from its dad's power that is able to be, like, culminated, and then from there, like, power can be transferred, or if it's like, you reach to a certain point, and now I give you said power, or something like that, because the weird thing about if it was, like, different entities, it's like, is there stronger ones over another one at that point? Like, which seed of the king is the strongest, or are they really the same entity just splitting themselves up in different, like, different forms and going into different people? And it's like from there, whoever, like, there would be a whole power, like, struggle, because different people would be stronger than others compared to if they were just different individual seeds. So that is something that makes me curious, and I'm wondering if that is why Wangnan, we haven't seen him awaken, if it's something that Jihad is preventing in terms of, like, not allowing whatever is inside of him to share power or divert its power, and until it reaches a point where, maybe it, like, literally breaks free of Jihad's hold, or maybe it's something more on Wangnan's end. Like, I'm wondering, what allows that door of access to come through, which we know White has done, which is also curious if we get more of his backstory in terms of how he was able to grow said seed of the demon, how that equates to his father and his power, if it changes anything or it doesn't, or really, like, what that whole stipulation is, and see if we can compare it to Wangnan.
I do remember now in the chapters, White's dad saying, all right, you should probably go, like, paraphrasing, but he says something along the lines of, now you need to go, like, with the demons, or you need to go in the darkness, because, like, that's where your power will cultivate best. What if, like, these demons or these seeds or whatever can only grow and manifest under certain conditions? So, like, the seed of the king, couldn't fucking tell you. I don't know. Whatever whatever that thing needs to grow, is how it grew in Jihad. And until Wangnan does that or starts doing that or whatever, his isn't good. Like, they are separate, but they require specific conditions to manifest. And it's them being stronger than the other is a matter of, like, how much power you give your thing. To where, like, again, I think it's interesting that Bam has this thing where he is not necessarily cultivating the demons in him. He's actually like incorporating them into his own body, which I don't think is a regular thing. I think normally when it comes to this kind of stuff, you get to a point where if you give it enough power, like you got to choose whether it gets you or, and again, this mirrors Jihad, where I think once Jihad got to that point, he was like, yeah, whatever, like take over, do what you got to do. I just want the power.
Yeah.
But so I'm curious to see if Wang Nan gets to that point, maybe, or he learn if this is even true. And if that's the case, because I think that then that kind of makes sense. While it's like why he said that to White and what that means. It's like, oh, they don't all grow strength or gain power through the same method.
And I'm wondering, because we know how much Jihad lost himself in growing that power, so I'm curious to what extent Wang Nan is going to get lost in growing that power, because it's not just like, oh, gimme, 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 it's a give and take. And Jihad gave all of himself away for this power. So, I would imagine like Wang Nan would have to sacrifice just as much to reach that same caliber as Jihad, and to what avail is that going to have on Wang Nan as a person? And it could honestly flip his mindset. We saw it with Jihad. Like, he was a happy adventurer, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, now he's a fucking dictator. It's like, it obviously bears, a big weight inside of a person.
I'm Jihad, the happy adventurer. Now I'm a dictator.
I can still be happy, but do what I say.
Split personality.
Put this guy in charge.
Me? You got a fucking problem? He's Mickey Mouse, actually.
Let me pee in your cornflakes.
All right. Long live the king.
All right, folks. That is our discussion for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Seems like a long one. How long was that?
Yeah, what are we clocking?
Hour and 36.
Holy shit.
35.
That is a long one.
That is long.
That's what
You're
said.
welcome. Yeah. Yeah.
We love you.
We love you. No, but we are going to end it now. Thank you to everyone that put their question in the Discord, and definitely hang in there, because we will be releasing our second discussion next week to hold you guys over. For those of you who don't know, we are going to be taking a week-long break starting February 28th. So we will not be streaming that day, Tower of God, and then we'll be coming back that next Sunday to stream it, etc. So obviously, since we're not reading more chapters, we won't have more discussions that are covering those chapters, right? So generally, Isaiah and I will take up a second discussion. We're just going to release that during that week, along with the blog posts, in order to hold you guys over for the week, get some more Tower of God content to stave off that hunger that I know all of you have to watch this show. So just so everyone's on the same page. So thank you so much for watching. Make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, hitting that notification bell if you are new here, so you don't miss any future content on the AOA show. Make sure you guys are also hitting up the AOA Reacts channel and subscribing there as well. The link is in the description down below, so you guys can catch our live streams of Tower of God. A lot of fun, a lot of laughs, and a lot of great read-throughs there. Big shout out to our patrons, especially our acolytes of anime. That is Stoic and Nathan. Couldn't do it without you guys. We love you all and your beautiful faces. And we have our comment of the day here. Comment of the day comes from Nick. Nick says, I don't usually comment or talk and chat much, but just wanted to say I really enjoy the TOG content you guys have been doing. AOT and Haikyuu as well recently. I found your channel when I started reading Season 1 after the anime, then caught up in the middle of the workshop arc, and I've been reading along weekly with you guys ever since. I enjoyed a lot of the talking points in this discussion, especially the Endorsi question, referring to our last discussion, she's my number one, and Bomb's true purpose. You guys gave me some different perspectives that I didn't have when reading these chapters. Anyway, just wanted to comment for once and show some appreciation. Also, Kallavan plays the piano, which was the question. So thank you for answering it. Thank you so much for watching till the end of the video. Thank you so much for being a longtime fan and going along with us, even though you could easily read ahead. I love that when people, it's really flattering and humbling when people say, hey, I could read this story, but I'm going to, or ahead of time, right? I could read ahead, but I'm going to read this along with you guys and kind of take this one bite-sized chunk at a time with us. That's something that's really cool. And thank you for commenting just in general. It's great to put a face to the name with all this kind of thing. So it's nice to know that you're out here, you're enjoying what we do. Because we certainly enjoy it, and that makes this all worthwhile. So hopefully you're going to continue to climb with us for Tower of God and for all the other content that we post going forward. We're glad to have you here. But anyway, in terms of a question, does anyone have a question for today?
What
What number am I thinking of right now?
That's a fantastic question.
And I would see who can get it right.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
That is amazing. I am so shot for just everything right now that I can't think of a question at all. I'm not reading off a teleprompter. What am I gonna do?
You're reading off a teleprompter?
No, I know.
This is scripted?
I know. It's wild. And these people are like, dude, I'm watching the end of the video. Just give me the fucking question so I can put it on there probably right now. I'm working on it, okay? I'm working on it here.
All right, I got one.
Go. Shoot, please.
What is so we learned recently the whole thing with the gray goo that shows you which Shinju you specialize in.
True. Mm-hmm.
Which one did it say that Edon specialized in?
Okay, so what is Edon's
Shinsu
Shinsu
type, I think
type?
is
Like,
what
what
it's
is his
referred to as.
affinity
Yeah.
towards it? Okay, great question, because I forgot.
I was gonna say,
So-
bro, I don't even know this question.
So great. So if you
So,
can get it.
I
So
don't know.
answer the question and then write your comment. We'll know that you watched till the end of this video. And we might just read it.
Oh, I remember. Oh, that was so stupid.
Thank you, Gavin. And we might just read your comment for anyone that was wondering on our next discussion. Now, Gavin, you have the floor. Would you like to say anything to
No,
anyone?
because I can't give him the answer to the question.
No, he
That's
just
not
wanted
what
to
I'm
interrupt
asking.
you.
What do you mean that's not what you're asking?
I'm going to strangle Gavin off camera real quick.
I just love busting your
No,
cornflakes.
just playing. But anyway, folks, that's all we got for tonight. We will catch you all on the flip. Peace.
Peace.
Ninjas are samurais, blazing the kunais. Find me in the leaf of the cloud, screaming out Bankai. We just some ghouls though, who like seeing parts fly. They like what you saying, Goma got more through the storylines. I tested your neck from the start, my hunters gon' come for your heart. I promise you'll land in my boulevard, left them in one piece, no.